Today's speech is about a figure from the time of the Protestant persecutions who lived in 1500s England. Dr. Rowland Taylor, Archdeacon of Exeter and one of the 6 pastors assigned to preach at Canterbury Cathedral, was the 3rd Protestant martyr to suffer persecution during Queen Mary Tudor's rule. According to the Survey of London, 1598, by John Stowe, Dr. Taylor was born in the town of Rothbury in the year 1510. His father, John, was the eldest from a set of triplets. John and his brothers were given a free education by Henry VIII of England. Due to an ancient law that stated if triplets survived to adulthood, the sovereign would pay for their college education. John Taylor became a minister, scholar, and an ambassador to France, while his brothers became lawyers of English and canon law. John Taylor died when Rowland was just 4 years old, executed for shooting and killing a Frenchman that forcibly soiled the honor of Rowland Taylor's older sister. His uncles helped out after his father's death, thus influencing him and giving him a strong respect for the law. He graduated from Cambridge University with a law degree and then attended a Protestant school for the clergy. He graduated at the age of 28 and was mentored by the first Protestant Archbishop of Canterbury. He was ordained and appointed by the Archbishop to St. Swithin's Church. During this time, he met Margaret Tyndale, who he married and had 9 children with, 4 of which would survive to adulthood. Dr. Taylor would continue the climb up the Protestant hierarchy. While appointed Archdeacon of St. Edmunds, he debated with the Anabaptists and peacefully resisted the remaining Catholic influence in England. He later was appointed Archdeacon of Exeter and was chosen as one of the 6 preachers at Canterbury Cathedral. However, tragedy would strike England in 1553. Edward VI died shortly after appointing his cousin, Lady Jane Grey, as his successor. Dr. Taylor immediately declared his allegiance to the new Protestant queen. However, Queen Jane would not stay on the throne. Mary, Henry VIII's oldest daughter, gathered a Catholic army to storm London and overthrew Jane. 6 days later, he gave a sermon at St. Edmunds and severely criticized the Catholic practice of celibate clergy. It is written that the Catholics in his church seized him mid-sermon and dragged him off to prison. However, he was released days later without a charge. With England's sudden return to the Catholic faith, Mary unleashed her wrath upon the Protestants and burned those who did not agree with her. Dr. Taylor, along with Archbishop Cranmer, were arrested and charged with heresy against the Catholic religion. He and other Protestant leaders were presented to a council of Catholic bishops. During a series of short and speedy trials, Dr. Taylor responded by accusing the bishops of committing treason against the previous Protestant monarchs. The bishops found him guilty of heresy, stripped him of his clergy robes, and excommunicated him from the Catholic Church. He was held in prison for several months before Queen Mary signed for his execution. On the 9th of February, Dr. Taylor was dragged out of prison on a cold winter's morning and met his wife and children in the prison entrance. They all wept together and clung to each other tightly as they recited the Lord's Prayer. Before Dr. Taylor was marched off, it is written in Fox's Books of Martyrs by John Fox, 1556, he said this final farewell to his family: "Count me not dead, for I shall certainly live and never die. I go before, and you shall follow after, to our long home." Others facing the punishment of death cried out to God to save them on their way to the stake. Dr. Taylor, on the other hand, was cheerful. He talked happily with the men who were ordered to lead him to his execution. He waved and talked to bystanders, many of which came from his congregation, hoping to see him one last time. In a final act of charity, he threw his coin purse to a poorhouse on his way to the stake. After an hour on foot, he reached the spot where he would die. Onlookers wept and cried out to the Reverend as he approached the stake. Dr. Taylor paused, kissed the stake gently, and willingly put his arms in front of him to be bound. Seeing his family among the onlookers, he bid them farewell one final time. He then began to pray in English and was struck across the face and commanded to pray in Latin. He refused. A guard shoved a wooden rod forcefully in his mouth and told him to be quiet. The townspeople were forced to gather around his stake. A local butcher was then brought to light the steak, but he refused and was arrested for treason against Queen Mary. Eventually, the Queen's guards forced the bystanders to throw torches at the stockpile of sticks that surrounded Dr. Taylor, and a scuffle followed where the bystanders tried to put out the growing fire. One of the guards struck him across the head, killing him instantly, and threw him down into the fire. His ashes were kept in the spot where he was burned, marked only with a rude stone. Today, a monument stands marking the site of his execution. Dr. Taylor wouldn't be the last of Queen Mary's victims. Nearly 300 more suffered at the flames of the stake before Mary's health declined and her Protestant sister Elizabeth was declared Queen of England. Dr. Taylor's commitment to fighting for his beliefs did not end upon his death. He passed that trait down onto his descendants, who came to the Americas. According to the UK Genealogy Archives website, his descendants were among those in Jamestown. They were heroes fighting in the American Revolution, pastors leading the early American churches, and even serving as presidents of the United States.